We like from time to time to bring in some alumni just to hear how they're doing and hear their story, and hopefully brings, thanks Jill, hopefully brings hope and inspiration and all that stuff. And Pete was like, well, I have Chris in. I thought it was a great idea, and excited because guys in this room hopefully will be sharing their story and part of the, the podcast if they want to be, and part of sharing the story with these guys. So it's a great full circle moment. So Chris, how long have you been sober so far?
I'll have 4 years in June 21st. I'll have 4 years.
It's awesome, man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's a big deal. Take us back, man. Start at the beginning. What was life like for you before getting sober?
It's kind of hard to go back because it's over a span of 50 years. When I came in here, I was 50. I was 2 months. I was a month and a half away from my 50th birthday. I just turned 50 when I came in here. And, I can remember back in my 20s and my 30s, and I drank, and I did a lot of cocaine, and I didn't do it. I smoked a little weed, and then I got to the point in my life where I was hurting myself. Working, I was hurting my back. I had my first back surgery when I was 33. So there was always been pain pills in and out of my life, and alcohol was constant. And I drank a lot of alcohol, a lot. Towards the end, I was drinking 1.75 and a half every day. It was not to be surprised if I did 10 shots before I got in the shower, did 3 more before I left for work, and drank coffee on the way. It was a lot. It was a lot.
Definitely qualifies you as having an issue.
Yeah, I guess I really didn't. I always kind of knew that I had a problem, but in 2018 I had a second back surgery, a second and a third. And I was on some pretty high painkillers, and I'd been on them for probably 10 years. And there would be months where I would run out, and then, I got to go to work, so I just have to suffer through the DTs. And then I would try not to drink at the same time, and I ended up in the emergency room twice. He was talking about his medical, and I was actually in intensive care for a week each time.
Wow.
On life support, all my organs were shutting down. My body was pretty much said, "Fuck you, we're out of here. You've abused this all you got. You got no more." Somehow they brought me back each time, and it got to the point in probably 3 weeks before I got here. It was pretty serious at home. I was doing probably 3 or 4 day benders every week. So I would sober up 1 or 2 days, and then I'd just do it again. I was missing work. My wife was good and pissed off and left. I don't even know how long she'd been gone, to be perfectly honest with you. I know that she left, and we were communicating over text or short phone calls, but I don't even know how long she'd been gone. I still can't tell you to this day.
Wow.
She could probably tell me. I've never asked. I called her one afternoon and said, "Hey, I need help." She's like, "Tough shit, I can't help you. I don't know what to do for you." I called my daughter, I called my son-in-law, and I said, I need help. I don't know what to do. This can't continue. And I don't know how much you guys are into AA, but they talk about a fourth dimension. And I've been to that fourth dimension twice. The first time is when I made that call to my daughter, because I didn't make that call. I absolutely did not. I don't remember making that call. What I do remember from it, I was floating above the bed, looking down at myself, fucking hammered, and somebody else was talking.
Is that what, sorry to interrupt, but for those of us that are newer to AA, is that what the fourth dimension is? I'm not.
I don't really know what the actual definition of the fourth dimension is. That's
Right.
what I think it is.
Like an out of body.
I think
type.
it's an out of body and out of mind experience, a different level of something.
Gotcha.
What that is, I don't really know. I don't know. That's what it was for me. Some of the older guys in AA kind of agree with it. Some of them don't, but it works for me and I understand it. So that's kind of the way that I live it.
Yeah.
So within 3 hours, I was in a detox in Aurora. Had no idea how I got there. I'd been drinking for 3 days. I drank a case of beer before we left. I got to the detox, I blew a .36. And as far as I know, I still hold the record. I'm pretty proud of that record. So that's how it, and then I sobered up a couple days, and then I remember Joe, and I don't remember who the other one was, came in there and started talking to me about Valiant. And I was in such a weird place that I just thought that you went for detox. This is what I was supposed to do. Somebody came in and told me where I was going. I got in the van and I left. I didn't know I had a choice.
You didn't really know there was another option.
No, I didn't. I didn't know that I was free to leave. I didn't know any of that.
Probably for the best, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The way things turned out, absolutely. But
You may not have taken the option if you,
yeah, absolutely. So that started my Valiant journey.
What were some of your, and I know we're kind of just jumping in deep here, but what were some of your fears starting to come into?
The funny part about it is I didn't really know what my fears were until I got in here.
Really?
And started discussing some of what was going on in here and what was going on in here.
Well, I mean, even just your fears about going into treatment, or were you ready at that point?
I was ready. You know, my wife had been telling me, because we'd been obvious several conversations, because, you know, when you're hammered 95% of the time, you're going to have some conversations.
Yeah.
You know, and I was always looking for a counselor. I was always looking for a place to go get help. Where could I go? And I think looking back on it now, I was looking for you guys. I needed a community that understood me and how I was and how I thought, and that I could understand them, and we could all have a similar conversation. And I got more out of that than I did anything else, because I could talk to somebody that knew how I felt.
Was that the first time you felt like you kind of like found your people?
Absolutely.
Like, this is my tribe here.
You know, and that's what me and my wife say. She's like, you got your people. Go talk to your people.
Yeah.
You know, go do your thing. And it didn't click for me for a while. But then as the more that things went on, and the more people that I talked to, and the more things that I went to, and more things that I looked up online, and I listened to a lot of podcasts, and you know, just different things, I was like, yes, this is where I need to be.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that, because I was told that coming into that one of the biggest things you'll take from Valiant is the friendships, the connection, you know, and I found that to be true as well. I mean, yeah, the therapy and all the other stuff, that has stuck with me, and I actually remembered more than what I thought I would, especially those early days when you're pretty dysregulated, you're just trying to survive, you wonder how much of this is actually sticking, and it is. It's definitely getting planted in there. But man, it's the relationships and the friendships that are.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Pete and I we'll be life friends forever. We just will. We don't talk every day. We don't talk every month. But he'll call, I'll call. He'll ask me to be here. I will call I will come whenever this man asks me to be here. He will do the same thing for me. We have another guy that was on our class. Chuck is the same way. If we call, he'll be there. So it's the relationships that you build in here, because you can't do it by yourself. It's absolutely impossible to do any of this by yourself.
So true, man. What were some of the things that in the early days, if you can remember being in Valiant, that helped you stay grounded or connected? Were there any tools that you used in those? Because those first couple days to weeks, sometimes longer, can be pretty brutal.
I remember the first 2 weeks pretty clearly. I was pissed off. I didn't want to be here. I couldn't figure out why I was here. And I was in a room with 6 guys. We're all sobbing. We're all crying. We're all bitching. We're all complaining. I'm thinking, fucking suck it up. What the fuck? And then I don't remember what triggered it. But I'd been here, I don't know, 6 or 7 days. And that 8th and 9th day, I was like, oh, wait a minute. First and foremost, you're here to help yourself. Secondly, you're paying a lot of money to be here. So I'm going to get everything out of this fucking deal I can get.
Yeah.
Everything. And from that day forward, I participated in everything. I spoke first. I spoke last. Every exercise I was doing. Me and Pete were up at 5 o'clock in the morning working on our books, going to every meeting we could go to. We were doing whatever was asked of us. We did it. And to the best of our ability. We didn't bullshit anybody. We just did it. And that, you know, I think that helped me get through.
Just went all in.
Absolutely. You have to make a choice. You have to go, you're all in or you're all out.
Yeah.
You can't play with it. The first couple, 3-4 weeks, yeah, I think you can play with it a little bit. But at some point, you have to make a commitment.
Yeah. Well, close friend, alumni of the program, John W., told me that early on. I think he saw that I was struggling, and he kind of pulled me aside and he just said, hey, man, the quicker you can surrender,
Absolutely.
You know, I think he just saw me trying to control and all these different things. Like, you know, because early for me, and I don't know if you're this way, but I was seeing what was wrong with everybody in the house, what was wrong with the program. You know, I could run it better, all this stuff. And you know, there probably was some truth to some of that. But at that point, I'm just looking for something, you know, and he was like, man, you just gotta surrender, because that's actually part of the therapy is, you know, sometimes things happen where you're triggered and you have to learn how to deal and cope, you know.
Well, and I remember a session with Jill, because Jill was my therapist. And she's a lot nicer now than she was then, I can assure you. I had been here long enough.
She softened up a little bit? Is that what you're starting to say?
A little bit.
Interesting.
I'd been here for a while, and I had kind of picked up on some of the language, some of the therapy speak, and we would go and have our sessions. And we'd banter back and forth, and, you know, we'd talk about some few things, and then one day she just looked at me and she says, "Are you done? We've been doing this bullshit for I don't know how many days here. Are you done?
Wow.
Can we get to what we came here to do?" And right then, it was, here you go.
Flip the switch for you.
If you want it, I'll give it to you, because I don't want it anymore.
Yeah. I'm curious, with looking back, I mean, so it's been 3 years, 4 years. When you look back on your experience here, and I don't care about making a Valiant commercial, that's not why I'm asking this, but I'm just curious, having some distance, what are some of the things that you remember, or the moments? You talked relationships, I get that, but you know, if you're talking to someone looking to come into the program now that you've been out for a while.
I haven't really put a lot of thought to that. But I was thinking when another guy was talking about looking on the internet. And the biggest thing that I would say is don't start with the A's and B's, goes down to the lower in the alphabet. Because the deeper that you go, the better centers you're going to find. I didn't, with my Valiant experience, I can't think of a better experience in my life. Other than my son being born and then me coming here was probably the two best things in my life the best things that have ever happened to me ever.
Yeah.
I mean, just the way that the staff was, the programming, the house guys. I mean, I had more therapy with Ty in the middle of the night than I think I did in Jill's office most of the time. I mean, that guy saved my life. He absolutely saved my life. There's 3 people in this world that saved my life. My daughter, number 1, my wife is 2nd, and Ty is 3rd.
Wow.
And they're all tied number 1. Because there's some good people here, really good people here. Pete's living proof. This is a great guy. All he wants to do is help people. That's all they want to do is help, if you let them.
It's good. It's good to hear. I want to pivot to kind of life now. What's life in recovery look like for you now? Like, what is your program looking like?
Well, as you and I were talking earlier, my program in the first couple, probably 2.5 years, was pretty intense. I went to 3 or 4 meetings a week. I was in a book study every week. I did the steps. I did the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous 3 times in 2.5 years. I started to travel for work. I was looking for meetings in the towns that I was in, towns that I could drive to. Obviously, me and my wife talk sobriety a lot. I think she's figured out keys to me that knows what keeps me a little bit more centered and reminds me of things that I need to be working on.
So, sorry to interrupt you, but
Sure.
I'm just drawing my own conclusion here. But she left, but came back.
Actually, when I left Valiant, yeah, she did.
Okay.
When I left Valiant, and I was here for 112 days, and when I left and I moved back home, my first immediate opinion was that I probably should be moving out, not moving in. And I had left a pretty wide destruction path when I came in here. When I left, I wasn't for sure that I was going to have a wife. I wasn't for sure that I was going to have my 2 sons, my daughter, my grandchildren. I think they would be there at some point in my life, but I didn't know what that was going to be. I knew that it was going to be very hard. But at that point, I had accepted that. I like to use the word pay for the sins of the past. I remember telling Jill at one of our sessions that it takes a long time to reconstruct bridges that you've burned. And for people to trust you and to take you at face value when you had so many years where you weren't.
Right.
And just because you went and got help doesn't give you a free ticket and a free pass. It just doesn't. And I was willing to accept whatever consequences I had coming. And thankfully, me and my wife were. I'm not bullshitting anybody. The first 8 months was probably one of the hardest points of our marriage. She didn't know who I was. I didn't know who she was. I probably didn't start figuring out who I was until I'd been probably two years sober.
Wow.
And trying to figure out how I can get back into life and what I'm supposed to be and what I'm not supposed to be and who do I want to be.
It's oddly comforting for me to hear you say that, because I think I have an expectation that, okay, I'm going to go and get help, and now I got to show up in the world better. I won't even say fix, but just like, and even a few years, coming up on 3 years out for me, and I relate to what you're saying as far as it's taken time. Like, it's not like because especially I think when I went home, I wanted to prove to everybody that I was changed, and that even started to feel like pressure.
That was a ton of pressure.
Yeah.
It was a ton of pressure.
Talk about that for a minute, yeah.
Because there's a few people in here that know that we're in some of my. I came to a PHP class about a year ago, and some of you guys still remember me. I'm a pretty intense person. I'm wide open. I'm passionate. And to be that way intoxicated and in addiction, and then try to reel that back and try to be this person that you want to be is really tough. And I'm still allowed to be that wide open, vocal guy. But I don't have to do it in a way to where it's, I don't know what the right word is. I don't want to say abusive, but it's not.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's not, it's not as intense. It's not as serious. I can still get my points across without being an asshole. I can still be firm, but I can still be flexible. It's just, it's a really hard path, and boundaries are still a big deal for me. Even now, almost 4 years later, I'm still trying to figure out the work-balance life.
Yeah.
And when I'm in something, I'm in it. And that's the way I was in addiction. That's the way I'm in everything.
Yeah.
So to try to dial some of that back is pretty tough.
Yeah.
And the pressure is immense.
Yeah.
Because the people that you hung out with, your family, they all expect a certain you. I still have a lot of trouble in social like this. For me not to be standing here with a cold beer or a shot of whiskey is still uncomfortable to me because this isn't what I do.
Yeah, it's almost like a safety blanket for you in some
Yeah,
ways.
And even just family events.
Yeah.
I had all my grandkids over and my daughter and my son-in-law and everybody's there and it's chaos and I'm just like, shit. It's a great place to be. I'm very thankful that I'm there and I love everything that's going on, but sometimes I just don't know how to act in those situations.
Yeah.
And it's tough. It's still tough.
So I took us down a side trail there, but you're talking about early on going to meetings, going to different cities and finding the meetings and all that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, what's that like now for you?
Well, like we were talking earlier, I got to a point where I was going through the steps a fourth time, and sorry, I might sneeze, but I just got to step 4. Excuse me.
That's all right. Bless you.
I got to step 4, and we were in this book study. And everybody's going around the table, yeah, I'm almost there. And they got to me, and I'm like, I haven't done a fucking thing. Well, the first week, everybody kind of lets that pass. Everybody's busy. We're just trying to figure it out. And then it got to be like 3 weeks in, and I'm like, I still haven't done anything. And they're like, why don't you want to do it? I'm like, I just don't want to do the work. I just don't want to do it.
You just burned out on it, maybe?
I think I was fried. And I was getting ready to leave. We were done, and one of the old guys in there, and his name is Jonathan, and he was not even my sponsor, but he's a great guy, and he's been sober 50-some years.
Wow.
And he just pulled me aside and he goes, what's going on with you? And I said, Jonathan, I don't know. I just don't want to do this. And he goes, yeah, I don't blame you. I've watched you in here for almost 3 years, killing yourself on this. It's okay to take a break. It's okay. We're not going anywhere. We will be here. Whenever you want to come back, we will be here. Take a break. Go spend some time with your family. Enjoy your grandkids. Hang out with your sons. Do something different on a Wednesday night. And I really took what he said to heart. And I don't want to say that I walked away from it, but I definitely haven't been back into it as heavy as I was. I still catch a meeting here or there. I still talk to my sponsor. Like I said, I drive a lot. So I listen to AA meetings on a podcast. Just different stuff just to keep my mind engaged in it, because I'm one of those guys that I have to wake up every morning and think about my sobriety, and I have to go to bed every night thinking about my sobriety, because it's important to me. It's tied for number one with everything in my life. It's my sobriety.
Yeah.
I'm not going back.
Yeah. Well, I remember them telling us here that as time goes on, your program shifts and adjusts and you change, you can adapt, you can revisit, like the plan that you have. And, I love to hear that you're still locked in. You're just willing to evaluate, hey, this is what I need for today, for this
For sure.
season of my life. Yeah.
Yeah, because as much as my sobriety means to me, there's other things that mean a lot to me as well.
Yeah.
So I have to learn, and I think that I use a lot of that is ways not to engage with the things that I didn't like or the things that I did have a hard time with. And I thought that if I continued to go to the meetings that I would be able to work on those and that I would get better at it.
Yeah.
And you only get better at it if you keep doing it. It's the biggest thing I got from AA is it's progress, not perfection. As long as you're trying every day, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
You're giving 110% of what you got every day, you're winning.
Yeah.
You're straight winning.
That's good. What are some of the unexpected gifts that you have received or you didn't see coming in these last few years of sobriety?
Wow, there's been a lot. I think that the biggest one is my marriage. I think that being able to get that back on track and being at the place that we are now as a couple is awesome. I mean, we're empty nesters. Our boys have moved out. It's just her and I and the dogs, and we can sit and talk for hours now about relatively nothing or relatively everything. But it's just nice to be able to sit down with your wife and just have a conversation about life or how your day was or what do you think about this or what should we do over here.
Right.
The other thing is through my wife's hard work, we were able to purchase our first house. In 52 years, I never had a house. I always rented. I had an apartment. We lived in her rental house. In 2023, we purchased a house in Bailey, and we live on an acre, and that's just our happy place. That's where we want to be.
That's awesome.
I was able to do some things in my career that if I was still drinking, there's no way in my career that I would be able to do some of the things that I'm doing today. Not to really brag on things, but I'm trying to negotiate a $20 million deal right now. And the drunk hungover Chris couldn't negotiate a $50 deal.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've had an opportunity to pair up with somebody that's wants to do some of the things that I want to do, and it's coming together. And it's just having a clear mind and being focused and locked into what you're trying to do. Because if you're looking for the promises, you're never going to find them. But like I said, if you're in 110% every day of what you have, they just come. You don't even see them coming. They just come every day. And it's little things, it's big things. I get to get up every morning and put my feet on the floor instead of, oh God. It's thank you, God. Hell yeah, let's go.
Yeah. I love that. What would you say, and I'm going to open it up to you guys for questions. I want you to hit him with some of the things you're thinking of right now. But for those of us guys that are early on, even a couple weeks, what kind of, I won't say we don't give each other advice, but feedback, challenge, encouragement, what would you go back and tell yourself, when you were early on?
Oh, if I had to go back, I would definitely tell myself to trust the process. Because it is such a process to get you from detox to get you out the door. And there's so much that happens in between that you don't understand and it doesn't make sense to you and why am I doing this? But if you trust the process and you follow it to the best of your ability, 2, 3 years in, 4 years in, I'm still, oh shit. Yeah, I need to be doing this. This is where I need to focus today. This is where I'm at today. We big thing around here is check-ins. Hated check-ins. I just sat here yesterday for 8 hours. You know exactly how the fuck I'm doing. But now I do a check-in with myself every day.
Right.
Hey, what are you feeling? What do you think about this? What's going on here? What can you do different that you didn't succeed with yesterday? How can you make your day better than it was yesterday? How do you talk to somebody? How do you? I probably apologize more the next day than anybody that I know, because I'm genuinely an asshole. And if I make a mistake or if I jump somebody wrong, then I go to them the next day and I say, hey, look, man, I was out of line. I apologize to you. I don't want people to think that that's the guy I am, because before I never would apologize to you. I just would have went on with my life and never thought twice about it. But just to have the thought and the balls to go up and apologize to somebody is a great thing to me.
Well, it's funny because that might be the answer to my next question, because I was just curious about what is one thing you've discovered about yourself in recovery that you're the most proud of, which is probably tough. Like, that's a tough question. If someone asked me that, I don't know how to answer it, but I'm curious for you, and then I want to hear you guys' questions.
I think it's gratitude. I'm very thankful to you guys. I'm thankful to this place. I'm thankful every day. I'm thankful for something new.
Yeah. That wasn't something you had before.
No, absolutely not, because I was one of those guys that complained about every single thing. Every single thing. And it was one of those moments I had with a phone call with my mom. And she was bitching about doing taxes and having to do this and having to do that. And I said, Mom, every time we sit down and do something, we always know there's going to be 10 extra steps. So you can either do the 10 extra steps that you're going to do, you can do them pissed off and make them miserable as hell, or you can just sit there and shut up and do them. Either way, you're going to do them.
Right.
So why do you want to do them miserable?
Right.
So it's just things like that. And like I said, being grateful for everything that I have, because when I walked in here, I wasn't really sure what I had. I didn't have a lot. You know, I had a 14-year-old son that I said, well, go live with your sister. Dad's going to treatment. Don't know when I'm coming home, and don't know if I got a house to come home to. But good luck. Shittiest day of my life.
Wow.
But I rebuilt that relationship. I talk to my son every day. I talk to both of my sons. You know, it's just being grateful for what you got. And the other thing is I don't know how you guys are, but they talk about your higher power. Mine's God. I talk to God every single day. I finally have a relationship with God. I don't ask for things for me. I ask for things for others. I finally think about somebody besides myself, and generally first. I'm not perfect every day. I mean, I pray to God to make this day great. I do. But you know, that relationship with God has probably gotten me farther than anything else.
Yeah.
Because when I went through AA, I had a sponsor that explained it to me in words that I could understand. It wasn't higher power this and read the Bible, and it wasn't all that. You know, we had a guy in our class that went to an AA meeting, and he goes, "What's a higher power? Why can't I just say to whom it may concern?" And I was good with that, because he's right.
Yeah.
Just somebody that's bigger than yourself. And if you can find whatever that is for you, that's awesome, because it helps a lot.
Yeah. It's like taking yourself out of the God seat.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. When you quit driving the bus, it's a lot better.
It's good. Hit him with some tough questions, guys. What do you got right over here?
Please.
Yeah, Chris, thanks for sharing. I think a lot of good insights to hear from someone that's been through the program. I'm particularly curious about what your experience was like leaving Valiant, either advice that you'd offer sort of getting out or things to expect. I think we had 4 or 5 guys pick up coins a day, and just looking for some insight there.
Good question.
For me, it was, I didn't expect anything. It was super hard. I mean, I actually went back to work 45 days in the program. So I was working a full-time job, and then I was doing this when I was an IOP. I've lived in sober living for, 60 or 80 days after that. But I didn't know what to expect. And it actually brought comfort to not know what to expect, if that makes sense. Because then again, it adds that pressure back to yourself that you're supposed to be something that maybe you're not. Because when you first get out of here in 120 days, 130 days, whatever it is, everything is so different. It's so different than when you left it. You know, I had to find a new way home. When I was driving home, there's a liquor store, there's a liquor store, there's a liquor store. Well, I got to go this way just so that I can break the routine. I didn't go into a 7-Eleven for a year and a half. because there was fireball shots on the counter. So be prepared to be uncomfortable and accept being uncomfortable. Because you're going to be, and the only way that you can get through it is literally one day at a time, because you don't know who you are anymore. You just don't. And I don't know if that answered your question, but it's seriously hard, and there's some pressure to it, but just try to take it easy on yourself the best you can, and remember the things that got you through this, and apply those where you can.
I like that idea of embracing the unexpected, because that really pushes back against my control tendencies big time. But when you say that, I'm like, yeah, that actually sounds kind of freeing.
Very much so. And I find myself doing it today. That I'll put myself in those uncomfortable spots just to see how does it feel, and can I do it?
Yeah.
You know?
It's good.
And can I do it without help? You know, this is uncomfortable. I mean, I'm not a public speaker, but you guys are my people. You understand. You know, and don't be afraid to share in a meeting. If you're having a bad day in a meeting, tell somebody. Pull somebody aside. Share in a meeting. Say, man, I don't get this shit. Being able to have that freedom is awesome.
That's good. Great question. Thank you. Yeah.
You spoke a little bit on how going back home, you know, people expect this person, you know. And I feel that, you know, I'm in and out of treatment the past 5 years. I come to treatment, I make all these changes, this resolve to be a different person. I go back home and I fall into the same habits, same routines, the same personality, because they're expecting this version of Mike. How did you not kind of fall back into those old behaviors and that same kind of personality when you got home?
The short answer is that I found new people to hang out with. I lost probably my best friend for 10 years. Lived right next door. Drank every Friday, every Saturday, every Sunday. Oh, sorry, bud. Love you. How you doing? Good to see you. They start bringing out the beer, I got to go. That was probably the hardest part. Is I lost some pretty good friends because I just chose not to hang out in those groups. There was much more things in this life that were much more important to me. My family, my kids, my sobriety, my job. You know, I had to accept that fact that I just couldn't be that person anymore. You know, I'm still the same guy. I'm still like to go out and have a good time and do those things, but when they start getting rowdy and pulling out shots and all that, you guys have fun. I'll see you later. I got shit to do. You know, and it's not to offend anybody. I think that's the biggest thing, is that my friends felt like it was their job to protect my sobriety. And I want everybody to know that my sobriety is my problem. It's my thing to deal with. It's not yours. And I don't want you to help me with it. I want to do it. I want to do the things that I've learned to do and go to the people that I know. Because you can't keep me sober whether you're not drinking or drinking. You can't. And the faster people understand that about you, the easier it becomes.
That's good. Right over here, yeah.
I'd like to ask you, good to see you, man. I'm curious to find out how you made your way back to your family. What was that like, that experience?
I don't know that I made my way back. I think my family made their way back to me. The other thing that I took away from here is do what you say you're going to do. If you're not going to do it, then say you're not going to do it. But live to those principles of saying, if you're going to be somewhere, you be somewhere. If you're going to do something, you're going to do something. And the other thing is try to be. I had to be a lot more attentive, and I had to pay attention to what they were going through at the same time of what I was going through, and I had to be empathetic to what they had going on, because everything when you go back is turned upside down. Those people, when you come out of there, those people literally have no idea who you are. They don't. They think, well, that's great that he's 90 days, 110 days, 120 days, that's awesome. They're very happy for you, but they don't know who you are and they don't trust you. You know, I think that my wife probably looked at me a lot of the times in the first year and said, well, is today the day that I come home that he fell off? Because it's expected for you to fall off. It's expected for you to relapse. It's expected for you to have a bump. And I just flat refuse to do that. I just flat refuse. You know, me and my wife have a conversation a lot about, well, why don't you have a mocktail or a NA beer? And I tell her, I'm like, hey, I appreciate the thought. Thank you for thinking of me, but I just assume not. I'd rather not tempt myself. To me, it's temptation. To me, if I get that taste back in my mouth, I know exactly what I'm going to do. Whether I do or not, it remains to be seen because I won't put myself in that position. But I think it's give everybody else the grace that you're asking for them to give you. Because, like I said, they don't know who you are anymore. They don't know everything that you've learned in here. They have their once a week chats with the therapist, and they tell you how you're doing. But it's not the same as when you're there every day, and how you deal with a certain situation, or how you deal with a rough day, or how you deal with a tough kid, or you don't know how you're going to react. So it's much grace as you're asking from them, and you have to give them some.
It's good. It's really good.
Thank you. Thank you for that share. It's amazing.
That's all you got?
I mean, I got
Good. Yeah.
Bring it.
Okay. Great.
This is the favorite part.
So, yeah, like a big part of the recovery process here at Valiant is it involves finding things out about yourself that you didn't know, and a lot of times it's something you don't like and it's hard to deal with. How did you offer yourself love and compassion while discovering those things out about yourself?
It's a great question.
I think in the beginning I sucked at it. Because when things became apparent to me on why I was doing the things that I was doing, it was very hurtful. And I didn't really know what to do with that hurt. And I don't think that I know what to do with it today. But I think a lot about what I've learned in here and what I've learned from AA and what I've learned. I still see a counselor, that I still have an outlet to let some of that go. I think time heals a lot of that. 3 years ago, I couldn't stand to look at the guy in the mirror. Absolutely couldn't stand it. I didn't like the guy that I was. I didn't like who I'd become. I didn't like anything about myself. And now, I don't say that I love myself and that I'm okay with the guy that I see in the mirror today. I'm okay with that. And to me, that's a pretty big step. You know, I mean, I think it's just part of the process. I said, I think you just have to trust in that process, and you have to engage the things that you've learned. Because it's not easy. It's really not. I mean, guys, you've been sober 3 years, and some days it's just really super simple for you, and then 2 days later, it's a fucking bitch. You know? It's not the drinking that's the hard part. It's the emotions and the feelings. It's the drink for me is easy. It's all the other stuff that's still hard. But if you can slow yourself down, if you can try to process it, and just let yourself feel it. I hated that too. Just go ahead and feel it. Fuck you. Kiss my ass. I don't want to feel this. This sucks. No. But some of it you just have to sit in. You just have to. And you find a way to deal with it. And quite honestly, there's nothing you can do about it really anyway. I mean, you just have to do the best you can every day. There's no easy answer to it. There just isn't.
I appreciate these answers too, because of course, when Pete said that it'd be a good idea to have you in, I have complete trust in Pete. And I don't do any vetting, but I will say one concern or fear that comes up is that we bring in someone that's got some sobriety and they paint this picture of how easy or how amazing or whatever. And I actually draw a lot of hope from what you're saying, and I appreciate your candor and your honesty around it, because what I long to do, and I've said this a lot here, is I want to be connected. So even when you say feel your feelings, I want to, and as crazy as it sounds, I want to feel fear, and I want to feel sadness, and I want to feel loneliness. I don't want to live in it. I don't want to stay there, and I'm not trying to be negative, but like I've just numbed those feelings for so long, and there's a gift in all of those. You know, it's like, man, if you're sad, you get to actually experience comfort that you never would have experienced before if you didn't allow yourself to be sad. So there's like good parts of these, but I'm grateful for just how honest you're being as far as what it looks like, because I don't know that it's helpful to bring someone in that's been 3 or 4 or 5 years and all of a sudden paint this picture of.
And I think anybody that paints that picture for you is a fucking liar.
Well, it doesn't mean that life.
I'm sorry that I'm pretty
Yeah.
raw, and I'm telling you guys that God's honest truth. There are so many great things that go with sobriety. There are. Your life is so much better. It's so much more controllable. It's so much more to understand. But there are days, man. It's tough. It's tough where you want to isolate. You want to go in your room and close the door and stick your head under your pillow, or you want to stop at that liquor store. You want to go get a bottle of pills, or you want to do all these things. And you just have to have it in your front of your brain every day that says, if you do that, you're going to die. You're going to die. Because I guarantee you, if anybody else that's in here as an alcoholic took one drink, I guarantee you within 3 weeks you'll be back to drinking more than when you quit. And your body can't handle it anymore. My brain's just now healing. You can't handle it. I get the smell of it. It makes me sick. My wife will have a glass of wine or a drink, and the smell of it makes me want. It doesn't make me want to vomit, but I feel it, the pit in my stomach going, dude, no.
Wow. Yeah.
But it's not a rosy picture. It's one of the beautiful things is like you just said, that the ability to comfort yourself is an awesome feeling.
Right.
The feeling to get yourself out of the dark place that you're in, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. You get out of that little spot and you just have this, oh, I made it through that. It was hard, but it wasn't that bad. And just to have the ability to do that is
Well, and that's what we learn in here, is to be able to hold these things in tension of like, man, yeah, life is better and it's not easy. Like it can be both. And that's a really, I think, a more mature, advanced way of being able to hold different feelings at the same time. You know?
And life is not hard. Life is hard. There's nothing easy about any life, whether you're sober, straight, it doesn't matter. If you're hammered, drunk, or straight, it doesn't matter. Life is hard anyway. Everything is a challenge, but it's how you want to address the challenge. You know, some days you don't want to get out of bed. I'd say that's okay. If you put 3 or 4 of them together, you better be calling somebody. You know, you better figure out why you're feeling the way you're feeling, and you better have somebody you can talk to, whether that's your sponsor, whether that's somebody from in here, you better call somebody. And I heard somebody in here earlier say, well, I don't know if they want to talk to me, but I need to talk to them. Those people will listen to you any day of the week. You get with Pete, I'll leave my phone number with every one of you. Call me anytime you want. Any time of the day. I don't care. Because it's hard. It's not easy. But it makes you figure out who the person that you want to be is. It gives you something to strive for.
It's awesome. Guys, let's say thanks to Chris for sharing with us tonight. Good job, man.
Thank you guys.
That was amazing. Really good. Thank you.